Thanks for your attention. And now I'd like to introduce your moderator for the session, Victoria Salem. While Victoria is a Rotarian, we invited her to moderate today because of her passion and expertise in building and maintaining networks. Victoria is a professional development coach focusing on communication techniques, strategies to build a strong network, and ways to be more impactful when speaking in public. Victoria launched her company, the Golden Network, in 2014, and since then has worked with major corporations and schools such as Google, Lombard Odier, and Imperial College. Victoria enjoys helping her clients get better results, successfully raise their profile, and create more opportunities thanks to improved communication skills. Welcome, Victoria. We're so happy you're here with us today.
Thank you so much, Leanne. First, for inviting me to moderate this webinar and for introducing me so kindly. Indeed, I am passionate about building relationships. And this passion for connecting people and bringing them together started at quite a young age. If you will ask my mom, she will tell the story of me being in the playground, her putting me alone there, and 10 minutes later, me being surrounded by 15 other kids and starting playing, chatting, and connecting. It's later on in my life that I decided to make it a passion and my career. I started organizing networking events in London, connected hundreds of professionals and companies, and after started actually coaching and training on the topic. Now, we all know the importance of feeling included and being part of communities. Therefore, I'm so happy to be part of the Rotary. And by just looking at all the messages already sent on the chat, we have people today connecting from all over the world, and that is wonderful. Gita, one of our speakers today, mentioned being part of the Rotary, it's like being part of a family. I couldn't agree more. Do you? Well, without further ado, let's get started with our conversation today. People around the world know about Rotary. In fact, when we surveyed people in 15 countries, we found that of the world's leading social service organizations, we are among the top 3 in terms of awareness. But only 35% of respondents saw Rotary as an organization for people like them. And just 25% of people surveyed said they know someone in Rotary. The question, therefore, is, how do we take an honest look at all the ways we are engaging with our communities and open up new channels into Rotary for people from all backgrounds? We've spent over a century leading one another to a great purpose. Let's build connections and opportunities that will allow people who share our drive to do the same. Let's think about our community and find all the ways that people are connecting, perhaps through shared professional goals, cultures, or interests. And let's invite those people to connect with us. It's a win-win situation. Let's build connection and opportunities that will allow people who share our commitment to service to join us. When we think beyond traditional partnerships, we demonstrate that positive change starts with welcoming the talents and ideas of others. Well, I hope all of you are ready today because we have a great program ready. We will build skill, hear incredible stories, identify opportunities, develop ideas, and more. But so, where do you begin when it comes to building meaningful relationships? And if we thought today that it would be valuable to start with a little session about building meaningful relationships and connections with everyone and anyone you meet, reach to, or want to collaborate with. I am a strong believer of the power of your network. Indeed, for me, your network is your net worth. And Rotary is there to help you with that. And I'm going to quote Gita again here. Rotary is a bridge to everywhere. But where do you start when you want to expand your reach? I wanted to simplify this little workshop by giving you 3 areas of focus for building relationship. First is to know your objective. What is your goal in reaching out? This goal should be simple and targeted to that particular campaign or need. What is it exactly? What are you or your club looking to achieve? What is your end goal? For example, in my club, the Seaside Rotary Club in Playa del Carmen, Mexico, we recently started a campaign called Feeding the Future. Our goal is to secure financial help from other clubs around the world in order to grow our feeding program here in a poor regional school. We currently feed 100 kids every day. For some, it's the only meal they will have that day. And we want to do more for the region. Therefore, we want to get more people involved. Setting a clear objective did help us, but will also help you decide where to look for contacts, which actions to take, who exactly to reach to, etc. Without a goal, you're unlikely to go anywhere, or more likely you will end up going in every direction, which is not productive. So going back to my club example, we now knew what we were going to reach out to other clubs via email or other forms of contacts. We did put together a video as well as a PDF letter explaining the project and our needs, and a sample email for all our members to use when approaching the selected clubs. Here we had our goals, our targeted audience, our tools, and our actions to take. Now, I would like to ask all of you to take a piece of paper and think about one goal that you would like to achieve in 2022 for your club. Write it down on top of that piece of paper. What is it that you would like to grow? Any causes that you would like to be more involved in, or anything that comes to mind? Just write it down and make it as specific as possible. You can come back to this later, of course, but let's just make this a little bit more concrete. All right. So now that you have your goal, let's move on to my second point, which is targeting your audience. This is really about looking at who you're going to speak to, where are they, what's their value, what's their particular needs, do you already know them, or are they totally strangers, etc. It's all about tailoring your approach to that particular individual or group that you are trying to reach. Going back to the program I mentioned from my club, Feeding the Future. Once we were ready to take action, each of us started looking at the clubs they wanted to reach out to. They became our audience. Then we looked at which part of the globe they were located in. If we already knew them, or maybe we already visited their club in the past. If we knew any of the existing members, and we use that information to tailor our approach to them. You always want your approach to be personable. So now, go back to your piece of paper and write down what will you need to reach out to achieve your goal. What actions could you take to reach to them? And write all specific about those individuals or group. This list can be very long. So for now, just write down 1 or 2 ideas. How do you know them? How could you approach them? Would you put any specific actions in place? When was the last time you were in touch, etc. Think outside the box, and more importantly, think of how you could make this approach as likable as possible to achieve success. I invite you to come back to those 2 points in your own time and start brainstorming about the campaigns you would like to start or are thinking of starting. Break it down so you productively design your future actions. Coming now to our last point. Last but not least, staying in touch. It is for me one of the most important parts about building relationships. You always need to stay in touch with everyone you get connected to. If you meet someone, get them involved in your club, for example, but never get in touch again. You have wasted your time and theirs. And if you start reaching out to new contacts, it feels a little bit like extra energy while you could just use the help of someone already involved, who could possibly want to get involved again, or who could bring you more contacts, right? Think now about ways to stay in touch. Maybe you could create a mailing list for your club and you add your new contact in there. of course, as them prior to doing it. I'm sure they would love to receive a monthly email with recent news from your club and what is going on with the club they supported at some point. Maybe you could regularly invite them to join meetings or join the socials you're organizing. In my club, we host several socials, including a Christmas party, and we make sure to invite any previous guest or anyone who has been involved or anyone who would like to have involved. For my personal experience, I have always stayed in touch with everyone I have met, and it has always paid off at some point. And sometimes it could be years later, but never let a connection go dead by losing touch. And today we have many tools to stay in touch, which are easy to use. For example, with the people you want to stay in touch with without active follow-ups, social medias are great for that. Once connected, they will be able to follow what is going on for you, but also for your club. In our case, we use Facebook and it works well. With the people with whom you want to actively stay in touch with, use your phone, calls or messaging tools, use meeting tools like Zoom, regularly schedule calls and check how your contacts are doing and if they want to get involved again. Whatever is it that you decide to do, staying in touch is an essential part of building the relationships. And I invite you to get in touch with myself, but also the two speakers we have today. Now, to summarize, three key stages of building meaningful relationships. One is to set up a clear and precise goal for reaching out. Then analyze your audience and target your actions by using all the information you have available. And last but not least, make sure to stay in touch. Right. I am sure our speakers will have a lot more tips and success stories to share with us. I am looking forward to talking to people who are expanding Rotary's reach in very different but equally important ways. To introduce them, I am going to ask the Rotary Foundation trustee Gita and founder of the Rotarian Metalhead Fellowship Felix to quickly introduce themselves and share with us some of the benefits they have experienced from expanding their reach. Let's start with you, Gita.
Thank you. Thank you, Victoria, for that kind opportunity to speak today. And thank you, Leanne, for your kind invitation to be part of this imperative discussion. I have been a member of the Rotary Club of Muthaiga for over 20 years. My background is in business, so I have used my skills to network, to connect with various organizations to benefit our communities. And I've realized that if the community is at peace and living in harmony, then our businesses also prosper. Having served in various positions in my Rotary Club, in the district, at the zone level, and now at international level, we've successfully, employed strategies to increase membership exponentially in Africa. Amongst the numerous committees I've served on at Rotary International, the most interesting one that comes to mind immediately is the Joint Committee for Partnerships. There, I learned a lot of benefits of collaboration and partnerships. One such organization that we successfully partnered with is the Global Partnership for Education, or GPE. Our organizations share the goal of creating opportunities where quality education is accessible to all. All along, Victoria, this was one of our main objectives. With GPE, we have connected to uplift marginalized communities by creating irreversible positive change. But we've also strengthened our friendships. And in so doing, we are building a very strong basis for everything we aspire to be and to do. So benefits of expanding our reach has been far-reaching in many ways. I'm unable to quantify because we have reached what we thought was unreachable. Where social norms meant that the future of the girl was completely decided, she was going to be domesticated. Now we focus on education, which is changing mindsets for both men and women. Traditionally unaccepted ideas of the past are now being widely accepted and fast-tracked.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Gita. Felix, tell us a little bit more about you.
Well, thank you so much, first of all, Leanne, for having me, and thanks for the introduction, Victoria. I'm a former youth exchange student. I went to Canada, where I spent a year abroad, which truly changed my life in a very, very positive way. I didn't want to go back to Germany, where I'm from. Right after I came from exchange, I missed my international Rotary Youth Exchange friends, as well as my former host parents and my close friends I made during my time in Canada. I really did grow so incredibly much as a human being during this year. My old friends, as well as my family in Germany, didn't understand how much I changed. Luckily, and that's how I state it nowadays, 25 years later, Rotaract was my cure. Yes, that's what happened. I joined Rotaract right after I returned from Canada. I was a Rotaractor for 13 years, served as president in 2 different Rotaract clubs, joined the Rotaract Germany Committee, which is an MDIO. In case you don't know, MDIO stands for Multi-District Information Organization. I was a chairman of Rotaract Germany with over 5,000 Rotaractors across Germany in 2010-11. When I moved to Munich, that's where the Oktoberfest takes place, in case you didn't know, with my now wife in 2012, I was too old for Rotaract. Well, what you need to know, my wife is also a Rotary Youth Exchange student and a former Rotaractor. Take one guess where we met. Yes, Rotaract it is, and guess who conducted our legal wedding ceremony? A former host dad of my wife. Anyway, my wife Bettina and I founded the Rotary E-Club Bavaria International in District 1841, as we really wanted to be in the same Rotary Club, but other Rotary clubs in our district would either not allow couples or female members. I am also the founder and chairman of the Rotarian Metalhead Fellowship, which I started back in 2018. For those of you, and I guess that's the majority, who are not familiar with metal music, metal is not played when you tune in your favorite radio station. How do I describe metal? Take rock music, spice it up 100 times, and you got metal, but with a huge variety of over 400 different metal genres. To me, metal music is as complex as classical music, just different instruments are being used. Or to put it in other words, you run a marathon, but you are exhausted after 5 miles. You turn on metal music and you finish first. This is the kind of energy that metal gives me, no matter if I'm happy or sad. Talking about today's topic, expanding out your reach, for me personally, includes doing things differently, or at least doing stuff what you would not expect. With the Rotarian Metalhead Fellowship, I give you different, very different to be precise, speaking from a family of Rotary point of view. To be able to get in touch with family of Rotary members who typically don't get in touch with metal at all, or not a lot, helps to reduce barriers on both sides. On the one hand, family of Rotary members as well as metalheads. In case you are not familiar with the term metalhead, those are people who are as passionate as I about metal music. On the other hand, I've already spoken to several metalheads who have never been involved in the family of Rotary, who thought, in case they know about Rotary, you need to earn tons of money, have lots, you love writing checks, and I can prove that they are completely wrong. In case you want to know more about the Rotarian Metalhead Fellowship or get involved because you are a metalhead, check out our website. You can find the URL of our fellowship in my Zoom background, or you can scan the QR code if you are in front of a Mac or computer. Leanne will also post the link to our website in the chat. Now, back to Victoria.
Thank you so much, Felix. And thank you both for being here. It's a great pleasure for me to moderate this conversation with such interesting guests. Without further ado, let's get started. As I mentioned in the beginning, having a clear objective is the first important step in building meaningful relationships. Now, I would like you to tell us about how your goals influence the tools that got you from ID to practice. Please tell us about specific tools or strategy you use to expand your networks. And let's kick off with you, Felix, with your fantastic story with Metalhead.
How I started the fellowship? Well, I've been a metalhead since I was 10, where I didn't even know that the family of Rotary exists. I've been involved in the Rotary family since I was 16, 25 years in total. When being highly involved in Rotaract, I never thought the family of Rotary and metal are a match. Have a look at band album covers such as Slayer, Five Finger Death Punch, Arch Enemy, Parkway Drive, Iron Maiden, Megadeth, or Manowar, and I could name many, many bands here. Go figure for yourself when you have a look at the album covers. Through social media, I learned a lot of my family of Rotary friends also listen to metal. Back in 2018, I established a family of Rotary meetup at Wacken Open Air, one of the largest metal festivals in the world. I thought 5 would show up. In the end, 25 showed up. This really got me hooked and totally excited to start the Rotarian Metalhead Fellowship. Between August 2018 and December 2018, I established the Rotarian Metalhead Fellowship. Talking what Victoria just mentioned during her intro, you need to find your audience and set goals. One goal was to do something that no one has ever done before. Well, at least I'm not aware of, and from a Rotary point of view. How did I do it? I made sure the requirements of starting a fellowship are met, such as write and agree on bylaws, find at least 25 founding members from at least 5 different countries, logo creation, website, social media, and so on and so on. Finding potential members for our fellowship was easy, as there are tons of family of Rotary groups in Facebook with over 10,000 members. I simply got in touch with some Facebook group administrators and asked them if I'm allowed to post a message about my idea to start the Rotarian Metalhead Fellowship. As of January 2022, we do have 195 members from 18 different countries all around the world. Our members are between 17 and 75 years old. And what I truly admire about music in general, and not talking about metal in particular, music brings people from all ages together. And we all know how much some Rotary clubs are struggling finding younger members. Last but not least, talking about dreaming big, as also mentioned by Victoria when defining objective and goals. How about a metal festival called Metal Against Polio, organized by the Rotarian Metalhead Fellowship? Well, guess what? I am already working on this idea for the past 4 years. And once COVID is hopefully over one day, I will once again put more energy into this idea of mine.
That's very inspiring, Felix. Thanks you so much for sharing. Gita, you have an incredible experience when it comes to building relationships. What strategies and specific tools would you recommend?
Victoria, instant answer is human connection. You know, given the overwhelming needs and the hopelessness in my part of the world sometimes, invariably one feels the drive and the impetus to do something, just do something. And that innate sense to address the needs calls to action. It is also impossible to solve every problem altogether in one go. Because of this, we focused specifically on the power of education to lift the communities out of their helplessness and poverty. That was our target, that was our goal and objective. Education is a natural equalizer, so we intentionally, deliberately and purposefully set out to look for projects in the area of education. At first, our efforts afforded instant gratification, provision of school materials, sponsoring young scholars, ensuring hygiene pack for girls, and so on. But we did not feel truly satisfied with this real long-term empowerment of these young people. So we needed to find a partner that shared our goals and had a proven record of success. The Global Partnership for Education proved to be a totally like-minded partner. We knew that Rotary also had so much to offer in these efforts. We met, we reviewed, and we defined our goals and our core strengths and weaknesses. We found a lot of mutual areas where Rotary, albeit a volunteer organization, was extremely strong, powerful, and passionate. You know, we have hands, we roll up our sleeves, our boots were on the ground. It's therefore evolved into a very natural symbiotic collaboration between GPE that has foothold in 75 countries, our ministries of health around the world, and Rotary. A true win-win for all engaging with our stakeholders. So education being a focus, it was intentional, purposeful, strategic, directional, and all the ideas to practice.
Thank you so much, Gita. Well, it sounds like both of you have a goal of connecting like-minded people, either through the shared love of music or the power of education. And that goal really shaped the way you got started building these new relationships. And that's fantastic. As you know, the idea of expanding our reach is one of the 4 pillars of Rotary's new strategic plan. Now, why do you think this is such an important focus for Rotary? And I would like to continue with you, Gita. You've built several partnerships for the Rotary. Tell us more about the importance of expanding our reach.
As people of action, we should be, the people who stand for inclusion, for compassion, for ensuring that we engage everyone who lives and works in our communities to be part of what we do, what we stand for, and and for them to understand our ethos. After all, service above self is our motto, really translates our services into building a peaceful and harmonious society. Therefore, no one should be left behind in terms of, say, vaccine delivery in today's conversation, or provision of water, access to health, access to education. We are those change makers in our communities who really advocate for positive change. So we lend a hand to reach out to people, simply by building connections and network whilst creating better understanding. As we strengthen our relationships, we actually build bridges, we create opportunities, we connect for closer collaborations. So it just makes sense, Victoria, to place emphasis on expanding our reach because it gives our organization more prospects to diversify, more opportunities to work together, and to enhance our reputation and the platform to share our ethos as we understand others. The more we do, the more we impact. So in the context of our partnership with GPE, expanding our reach as per our strategic plan means to ensure that we maximize our joint efforts in all aspects to achieve the mission of Rotary International, to ensure that there is equality and equity in access to education. Our partnership with GPE aids in promoting learning, not only learning in education, but also in empowering women to understand their health and that their family's health, because they are able to read, and yet simple things like prescription, directions, which may seem simple to us, but are truly empowering to those people we are working with in these nomadic communities. So our approach was targeted to an audience of the marginalized. Additionally, as we all know, with education comes liberation, comes independence for the person, and truly speaking, enfranchisement. This paradigm shift has begun to inspire the rest of the community. With open minds, we all tend to be understanding and empathetic to our neighbors, thereby promoting peace and harmony. So I really believe that this focus on education was primarily designed just for learning. However, we are seeing more impact than we had planned for. Really, unintended positive consequences, which are really positive, thereby bringing us closer to achieving our ultimate mission of eradicating illiteracy and poverty in the long term, Victoria.
Thank you so much, Greta. Very, very powerful. On to you, Felix. You build your own clubs, so tell us how you did emphasis on expanding your reach.
Well, to be honest, I've heard so many district governors talk about the subject in the past 25 years that the topic expanding our reach is not new to me. At Rotaract, especially when I served 6 years for the Rotaract Germany committee, I could easily try out something new. And this is something that I'm passionate about. During those 6 years, I served 4 years in the IT board of Rotaract Germany, and together with some 2 close friends of mine, I established a new IT membership database, which offers functionality that my Rotary still lacks to some extent. And the best part, on a personal level, it's still used at Rotaract Germany as of now, and it went live back in 2009. When my wife and I started the Rotary Club eClub Rotary E-Club Bavaria International, as already mentioned earlier. I also joined the IT board of Rotary Germany. And to be honest, and really honest here, for me, it involved way too many politics. This is not what I want. I couldn't make a difference, and I was really frustrated. That's why I left the board. Comparing my experience with the Rotarian Metalhead Fellowship, and I can completely relate to my time being a Rotaractor, but not so much being a Rotarian, trying to improve the IT for Rotary Germany. The board and board of directors of the Rotarian Metalhead Fellowship decide quickly. New ideas are put into practice on a really, really short notice. It's fun, and I'm doing something which is new from a family of Rotary point of view. Take a look at the Rotarian Metalhead Fellowship logo, and you will notice a skull. And I'm sure you haven't seen that one before. Thanks to platforms such as WhatsApp, we can decide on things within 5 to 10 minutes. In case you are now wondering, our purpose is to foster and encourage fellowship among people of all nations who love and admire metal music. As part of the family of Rotary, this fellowship supports international projects of the Rotary Foundation, which I don't need to explain, and the Wacken Foundation. And the Wacken Foundation supports metal-related service projects all around the world. And on the same side, we can reduce barriers within the family of Rotary that metalheads are the most humble and nicest people that I have met. Don't only judge by checking out album covers or lyrics of those metal bands, as I already mentioned during my previous slide. Thanks.
Felix, it really sounds like you really took the idea of expanding your reach to heart because you weren't finding the experience you wanted in some of the more traditional avenues within Rotary. So you followed your own passion and opened doors for others to join. As Gita said, that's really what Rotary is all about, building bridges. Now, we know that some people consider time, money, unmet expectations as barriers to get involved with Rotary. I would now like to ask you both, how do we remove those barriers for reaching and inspiring potential new participants and partners? And what is the balance you have found between actively expanding and removing existing barriers that allow people to engage more easily? Gita, you told us the other day that you were a people's person. So according to your experience, how do we remove those barriers?
You know, how do we remove the barriers? In order to have a fully diverse and effective club, we must make all conscious effort to first identify and mitigate for these deterrents. They're going to be there, but by consciously driving for diversity, I mean, look at age, race, professional classifications, and also the geography of our location, our venue, our interface of the communities, and accessibility, affordability, within our membership roster. It is advisable from time to time to carry out membership surveys, satisfaction surveys within the existing members. And also, when we invite members, we should ask them what factors are likely to keep them engaged and what elements of our club that they have seen are not so attractive. A sort of introspective SWOT analysis. Such exercises would invariably bring out, the critical answers for taking into account the general health and well-being of our club. Moreover, by staying in touch regularly, existing members feel valued. Everybody wants to be respected and relevant. So as club leaders, we must consistently and constantly keep them engaged with, popular activities that are fun for them, are attractive for the membership. Transparency, stewardship, accountability of the leadership is also very important, that we have to be very mindful about. All these aspects should be, should function harmoniously. Like our partnership with GPE, it has a lot of benefits. Girls are in school and are beginning to learn about personal hygiene. Boreholes have been built to supply water for this purpose and so much more. So, we have to consciously think about the barriers, and it's an effort you have to work at all the time, Victoria.
Amazing. Yeah, I totally agree. We have to always survey, ask, and question. And that's how we get the information and we can move forward and improve. Now, Felix, what's your take on removing those barriers?
While talking about removing barriers, I strongly believe communication always helps. A family of Rotary members also need to remove barriers, as it's not a one-way street. We at the Rotarian Metalhead Fellowship seem to do service projects that family of Rotary members do not understand. Here's an example that I'd love to share with you. Currently, we run a fundraiser with the metalcore band Hostage, and I am also wearing a shirt of Hostage as of now. They have released their debut single called Cancer for their upcoming album, which will be released later this year. Hostage partnered with us to raise awareness as well as funds for the World Cancer Day. World Cancer Day, in case you don't know, is held every February the 4th, and it is the global uniting initiative led by the Union for International Cancer Control. With this particular fundraiser, something happened which I have never experienced in the past. I reached out to Family of Rotary members with a huge Family of Rotary network and kindly asked them if they would be willing to spread the news about our fundraiser after we went live. A lot did not keep their promises due to the fact that they could not relate to the music. On the other hand, and that really makes me proud, several metal-related YouTube channels with up to 60,000 subscribers loved our fundraiser, while Family of Rotary members did not share the fundraiser. Have a look for yourself. Go to our website, which Leanne already posted, or have a look at my Zoom background, and click on the menu Cancer. Make sure you enable audio when you start the 2 videos in your web browser. When I explain metal to Family of Rotary members, I state, and this might surprise you, a lot of metalheads are more service-oriented than a lot of Family of Rotary members that I have met in the past. And you gotta believe me here, I really did meet a lot of Family Rotary members in the past 25 years. In case you don't believe me that metalheads are committed to service, I have tons of proof, which I always provide when I give presentations about the Rotarian Metalhead Fellowship and metal music at Interact, Rotaract, or Rotary clubs. If you only judge by reading the lyrics or at looking the band covers or how some metal bands are dressed, you are probably very surprised to hear me say this. So Family of Rotary members also need to expand their reach, as this is, as already mentioned, not a one-way street. On the other hand, metalheads, in case they have heard of the Family of Rotary before, think, at least it's very common in Germany, and that's what I also stated earlier, you need to have tons of cash or be the CIO of a company to become a Family of Rotary member. Well, we all know that this is not true.
Great, Felix, thank you. I love hearing the emphasis on clear and consistent communication. This is an incredibly important tool for making sure that relationships stay healthy and meaningful. So communicate and keep on communicate. Last but not least, I would like you to share on how can this strategy of expanding our reach deliver value both over the short and long term, and how do you actually measure success? And I'm going to continue with you, Felix. How do you measure success of the actions?
The number of times someone who has never heard of the Family of Rotary before suddenly starts to talk about us, ideally in a very positive way. Take a look at the fundraiser with Hostage that I've just mentioned. I'm sure those YouTubers who I've talked about earlier have never seen the Rotary logo before. In case they remember, if they ever see the Rotary logo again, they will talk about Rotary in a very positive way. We were also the very first fellowship, and there are about 100 fellowships that exists, where non-Family of Rotary members could join. Those members have never been involved in any Family of Rotary program, but asked us, how can we become a member? Because we love what you're doing, we love what Rotary is doing. And as of now, as we knew at that time, well, you had to be associated to the Family of Rotary to some extent, even if you are a former member or participated in one of our programs in the past. Well, what did I do? I reached out to Rotary International. and asked if non-family of Rotary members could join the Rotarian Metalhead Fellowship. Well, short story, we adjusted our bylaws and made sure our members approved the bylaw change. And here's another fun fact. 6 months later, we received a fellowship newsletter which encouraged all fellowships to allow non-family of Rotary members to join a fellowship. Fellowships such as the Rotarian Metalhead Fellowship also help to find new members and to make sure people who have never heard of the family of Rotary before know more about the great projects that we conduct. Also making sure they know the amazing things that the Rotary Foundation is doing, or how Rotary has been involved in the WHO since it was established, is the story that I usually tell. We also have already like more than 5 examples how non-family of Rotary members or former Rotaractors joined a Rotary club after they got involved with the Rotarian Metalhead Fellowship. Talking about success here, right?
Amazing, Felix, and congratulations. Really, it's really powerful everything you're doing. Gita, what's your take on measuring success?
Oh, wow. Measuring success. You know, for example, in relation to Rotary's partnership, individual members have connected with Ministry of Education officials in Kenya. We've invited some of them to speak to our membership on various topics of interest. Some of these guest speakers have curiosity about Rotary and wanted to join. One such fine example is the Vice President of Uganda, Her Excellency Jessica Opio. We made a courtesy call to her office, and she was so touched by all the work that Rotary was doing in Uganda, and even asked if she could join. And of course, we jumped at that idea. As a deputy head of state, we instantly, welcomed her with open arms. Rotarians have also connected with Global Partnership for Education headquarters and met with officials who in turn have introduced Rotary GPE partnership at the highest level in the ministries of education, Uganda, Ghana, Zimbabwe, and we're working on others. So Rotary was invited to join Prime Minister Boris Johnson and President Kenyatta at a recent Global Education Summit in London, where we got many opportunities to elevate the focus area of education. We had an opportunity to showcase our projects and promote Rotary and all the work that Rotarians do. This particular meeting ended up increasing our awareness of Rotarians to other stakeholders in the same space, as well as affording Rotarians personal and professional friendships and connections, which would be beneficial to all concerned. Additionally, parents, teachers, supporters, and sponsors of education in all industries, especially the communication industry like Avanti Communications, or the telecom companies like Vodacom, Safaricom, MTN, all came together with Rotarians, and this potential is so huge, it's immeasurable, Victoria. Communities are now able to, become self-sufficient, stable by having their own wealth, and they're no longer relying on wealth from child marriages to sustain themselves. And this is because we partnered, with an organization from Israel that contributed drip irrigation that works in the desert landscape, which is, greatly benefiting the communities in the marginalized areas. So measuring success is not numerical, but like I said earlier, we are getting a big bang for our buck, as it were. And the success is huge. The potential is even bigger, Victoria. Thank you.
Thank you so much, both of you. It sounds like the takeaway here is that success is measured by the positive perception people have of Rotary and the involvement of people we connect to, whether or not they decide to become a formal member of a club. Thank you so much, both of you, for a great conversation. It was really insightful. And now we would love to hear from our audience. So let's turn to our attendees' questions. Some of these were submitted in advance, and some have come in during the webinar, but please keep on using the chat function to submit your question now. We are time limited for that, but we'll try to answer as many questions as possible.
I have really enjoyed this conversation so far. Thank you so much. Felix, this is a question that came in advance, but someone sort of echoed it in their question, which is, do you think that Rotary's traditions and history hinders our ability to appeal to younger members? And how do we do both?
It really depends. If I have a look, when I was on exchange, I always first thought you need to wear a tie, a suit when you go to Rotary meeting. I joined my first Rotary meeting. It was stated, hey, you can wear casual, and I like, okay, a nice shirt would be obvious. And then there was like this Rotarian shaking my hand with a t-shirt and flip-flops. And during the Rotary meetings, jokes were told, and that was something I never ever experienced at any Rotary meeting in Germany. So I think you really need to differentiate about like the region. Rotary is not seen the same way as it is in certain regions. So I guess you can't really answer it on a global level, but if you look to some countries, and for example, if I look at Germany, to at least some extent, yes, absolutely. And there are also other service organizations such as Alliance, for example, that are doing a better job in regards of public communication and that kind of stuff than Rotary. So Rotary can definitely step up here, to my personal opinion.
Great, and I love that you emphasize not everyone is the same, but certainly where we can make change, we should. Geeta, this is a question for you, and what Geeta didn't mention in her intro is she's also a member of Rotary's DEI task force. So I'm going to ask you this with that in mind. How do we get past a belief in our clubs and in ourselves that we don't do things that way or a certain way? How can we be more flexible?
Every human being must every day be seeking new ways of adapting, of being flexible, of learning, of getting over and getting out of that box. So we have to actually show our members what are the benefits of doing things a new way, in an innovative way, a creative way. And if we are able to show that, I think it's very, very easy. As a DEI member of the task force, I feel I have learned so much. There's so many things that people don't know that they have biases towards. There are biases that they don't realize are biases. Some are very unconscious and some are very conscious. I think that the conscious ones are easier to get rid of. The unconscious ones we have to work harder on. So the belief that we don't do things that way is something that is so easily changeable, but we have to work at it.
Thank you, Geeta. Victoria, as a newer member to Rotary, someone asked this specifically, but I think you could apply it to really anything, which is, is our noontime meeting keeping people away? Should we consider other options? How flexible can we be in building our relationships?
I'm not too sure what noontime meeting means, but like the the rigid way that we see Rotary, which I think is an issue all across the globe, and that's something I'm consistently discussing with people I meet, because we want to do a lot, but I think we're kind of like restricted a little bit by the meetings. But then there is a need to have that structure. Without that, we wouldn't be able to go anywhere. I'm also part of the Toastmaster organization, and we also have a structure for our meetings. Now, when it comes to building relationship, I think it would be really a question of thinking outside the box, trying new things. I'm a big fan of events, and I know it's a little bit tricky now considering the situation and that most things are happening online, but there is a lot of events online. Look at this webinar. So it's all about communicating about what you guys are doing, getting people involved little by little, and trying to do things outside of the meeting hours and thinking really outside of the box, a little bit like Felix did with this fellowship, and trying new things.
That's great. Victoria, I'm going to turn it over to you because I want to get to our 10-minute video with some other stories of how people are expanding their reach. So back to you, Victoria.
Great. So again, thank you so much for everyone for your participation. A little bit more we want from you. As we wrap up, I would love for you to tell us in the chat one action that you will take as a result of this webinar. Janet's saying that you will learn about fellowships. Thank you. William, try to launch a new fundraiser with music. Social media, Stephen. Woo, now it's going fast. Wow, many actions. I'm so happy to hear that. Michelle, be intentional in our relationship with Interact. Nancy, challenge everyone to be more flexible and open to change. Martin, share the Metalhead Fellowship with my sister-in-law in the UK. Hugh Davids, wider circulation of newsletter. Timothy, look at how we organize our membership. Sending highlights from today's session to other people. Stephen, explore the current fellowships. Nancy, focus on projects, not meeting. Janine, seek out a Rotary Fellowship. This is great. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing. I love the idea that you're all going to take away at least one thing from today's webinar and take action. Thank you for joining us. And an amazing thank you as well to our two panelists, Gita and Felix. We hope you enjoyed this webinar and that you will join us for the next one in the series, which will be about increasing our ability to adapt and is scheduled for April. If you have 10 more minutes, we encourage you to stay and experience stories that were submitted by Rotarians around the world, answering the question of how they are expanding their reach. These ideas are incredibly creative and we hope they inspire you too. If you have to leave now, we'll make sure you get a copy of the video to watch later and share with others. Last but not least, make sure you connect with all of us today on this webinar and have a fantastic rest of your day.
One of the great strengths of Rotary is its global reach, and yet its local action. So in reaching out to communities, we need to think about how people get their information. Like it or loathe it, Facebook is being used by many, many people, not just individually, but also via community pages. So each town will have its community, often linked to buying and selling items, local information, what's on, and Rotary can play a big part in that. It's important that we ensure that the posts are locally focused, that they are clearly benefiting the local community, and that we don't issue too many, too high a frequency of posts to become a nuisance. So I would encourage people to look at your local community Facebook pages and use them appropriately, and they could be a great benefit to us.
We are expanding our reach by collaborating with the other two Rotary clubs in our community and other like-minded organizations. For our club, collaboration is one of our core beliefs that emerged during our visioning exercise because we value it so much. It fundamentally means first building solid relationships with these organizations, which is a very intentional time commitment on our part. The benefits are many. We pool our financial and manpower resources, allowing us to engage in large projects that address real community needs and have a lasting impact. Examples are a splash pad, an all-inclusive playground, and a Field of Dreams, which is a baseball field with a soft surface, bleachers, a concession stand, and parking that serve handicapped children and adults alike and the disabled veterans in our community. We're currently working on two other projects and are proud that our county executive calls Rotary the go-to organization to get things done. What have we learned? Well, we've learned to include project players early on in project development to get buy-in and support. We've learned it's important to become somewhat skilled at grant writing, both for Rotary grants and other grants that are out there and available. We've also learned very much that it doesn't matter who gets the credit. These are very win-win situations that feel so great for all of us. And in the end, we know that this approach to expanding our reach really speaks to the four-way test in building goodwill and better friendships and being beneficial to all concerned.
At the Rotary Club of Braids in Edinburgh, we hold 2 or 3 times a year Discover Rotary events, and they are strictly an hour. The event is a 2-part presentation. The first, one of our members simply talks about where we meet, what the club does, how it operates, and the other is a selection of short video clips from Rotary.org and some images of projects that we have undertaken. And we're particular about the name Discover Rotary because we target invitations to people that we think will be able to help us, but probably don't know much about Rotary. So we want them to come along, find out more about Rotary. Some of them go on to join us, but we expand our reach by making connections with targeted individuals and businesses that we have chosen that we feel can help us with projects at home or abroad.
The pandemic brought to our club various communication challenges. We look at what the business is doing to adapt and discovered the benefits of an AI chatbot. It basically replaces a website and a mobile app and allows users to find information about the club and Rotary by simply asking a question. With the Rotary AI chatbot, we have now innovative modern presence online and easy access to up-to-date information about the club and Rotary for the club members and the community. This digital tool makes us visible to young people, partners, and donors, and will help us attract new members and train them easier. Our AI chatbot has more than 90 cards on various topics about the club and Rotary, such as club projects, calendar, contacts, Rotary programs, area of focus, membership, and more. There are also several forms. The conversational AI model needs further training to become fully functional, but even today, it can answer questions on over 100 topics in 3 languages. Please contact me if you would like to learn more about the Rotary AI chatbot.
In 2019, my Rotary Club considered handing in our charter. My husband offered to be the president with conditions. Sadly, we lost 5 members who opposed change. The priority was to build a club that the members wanted. The strategy was to form a board of members with less than 5 years service. We had a 3 to 5 year plan to expand our reach by empowering and encouraging newer members to bring in new ideas, projects, leadership styles, and the ever-important social activity, utilising the skills, interest, and community connections of the new members. The process was to better utilise social media, marketing, modern governance and financial recording, foundation and government grants, short membership events, district training and engagement. Our results are 12 new members joined in that first year. Another 14 have joined since then with a retention rate of 89%. Many are referrals and from our Facebook presence. The plan is successful with a president-elect nominee, both with full boards, primarily with 5 years or less experience, both great leaders. Now we boast 23 females, 19 males, and 9 members on district roles. Our charter is safe. I invite you to have a look at our Facebook page, the Rotary Club of East Maitland.
We are expanding our reach by using the diversity, equity and inclusion model. We've approached the disability sector. Obviously, we've approached various nationalities. We're involved with several business networking groups. We've also got diversity through targeting specific areas. In one particular instance, we have a satellite, which is the chefs with disabilities. So, specifically targeting chefs, but those that have a disability, whether it's Down syndrome, autism, or they're in a wheelchair or whatever. But we've got that opportunity and we're slowly building up numbers and we're hoping to make greater inroads simply because we are trying to be inclusive in every aspect.
When COVID shut down community events, we could no longer host outreach tables. So we set out to improve our tools in order to attract people to club membership. We thought creating a unique business card might help us achieve this goal. The challenge was fitting all the valuable information onto this space. The front is simple and it contains a blank space for a personal touch. Here, a member can offer their name and contact information. A QR code can be a quick way to get someone to your website or application form. The backside is welcoming, with an invitation to our weekly meetings. This site also invites the person to explore our websites and social media accounts. Some other takeaways. The card itself is portable, easy on the budget, and easy to update. The demographics for every club is diverse. This is what drove us to a creative solution to expand our reach.
Some 3 years ago, the Rotary Club of Ballina on Richmond decided to take our club in a different direction. We wanted to be more relevant in our town. We wanted to also engage our members more and also engage with our community more. What we decided to do was connect with social justice causes in our town. We identified 3 causes, those being domestic violence, mental health and homelessness. While we work across those 3 social justice areas, domestic violence has become our #1 project at the moment. And it's interesting when we look forward now 3 years to where we are today, where our club has come from, by identifying with these causes. What we have found that we have created far more impact and we have so much more relevance in our town. And that has had a dramatic effect on our membership. Our positive growth in 18 months was 20. We grew our membership by 20 members in 18 months. We did not at any stage think that would have been possible. Many of those members that joined our club were women who so much connected with our domestic violence campaign. So I would like to share this story with you all to say, by connecting with causes that are relevant in your town, you can very much increase your impact and grow your membership.